and down to the world. Radyo Katipunan, the voice of the Blue Eagle.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay at tenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod, todo sa kayod, dunong at tulog. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing giting nagigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan.
Tara na't simulan ang inyong umaga sa mga magagandang refleksyon tungkol sa ating buhay at pananampalataya. Kasama sina Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, Father J. Boy Gonzales at Father Nono Alfonso ng Kapisanan ni Jesus, Father Cali Llamado ng Manila Cathedral at Binibining Risa Singson Kaupeng ng Light of Jesus Community dito sa Kapit Pandasal sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Papasa ka ba kung lagi kang absent? Ako si Risa Singson Kaupeng, book author at editor. Magkapit pandasal muna tayo. Nahihirapan ka ba sa eskwela, sa trabaho mo sa opisina, sa training mo sa militar, o sa practice mo sa sports? Pues, ibig sabihin lang yan, mas kailangan mong sikaping huwag mag-absent. Aba, ang hirap kaya humabol sa lesson, quota, deadline o skill kung palagi kang wala. Ang paniniwala ko ay, half of the miracle is in showing up. Hindi mo mararanasan ang himala kung wala ka doon. Tingnan lang natin ang himala ng pagpapakain ng 5,000. Ang mga lalaking nakakita at nakatikim ng handang tinapay at isda na pinarami ng Panginoon ay ang mga taong lumabas sa kani-kanilang bayan at sinundan si Jesus. Yung mga naiwan sa kanilang mga bahay o hindi bumangon, malamang wala silang kinain sa araw na yon o silang naghanda ng sarili nilang hapunan. Hindi nila natikman ang piyestang inihain ng Diyos. Kaibigan, may pinagdarasal ka ba sa iyong buhay? Anong ginagawa mo patungo sa katuparan nito? Kung nangangailangan ka ng himala, ang unang hakbang ay magpakita sa lugar kung saan mangyayari ang himala. Tandaan mo, kalahati ng mirakulo ay nasa iyo na. Ang tanong, present ka ba? Magdasal tayo. Jesus, gabayan mo ang aking mga paa upang dalhin ako kung saan matutupad ang iyong kalooban para sa akin. Amen.
The voice of the Blue Eagle, Radyo Katipunan 87.9.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay at tenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida
Bayan sa mga isyong napapanahon, makisangkot at makiisa kasama ang Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan, ang socio-political apostolate ng Kapisanan ni Jesus. Ito ang Kuwentuhang Bayan mula alas 11 ng umaga tuwing Biyernes dito lang sa radyo-katipunan 87.9 FM. Dahil naniniwala kami na posible ang isang mas mabuting lipunan at maaari itong simulan sa isang kwentuhan.
Ayan, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Welcome to another Friday episode ng Kuwentuhang Bayan dito sa Radyo Katipunan.
Magandang umaga sa mga katipunero at katipunera na sumusubaybay sa ating programa ngayong umaga at linggo-linggo.
Muli po, ako si Francis Gascon mula sa SLB at kasama ko po ngayon si Miss Lalaine Romero galing sa Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines. Welcome to our episode na pinamagatang Kuwentuhang Bayan, Kuwentuhang Halalan. Ngayong episode 8 ay dadako tayo sa Region 11. Kamusta ka naman, Miss Lalaine? Maganda ba ang gising natin dyan?
Yes, of course. Maganda dahil love is in the air. Buwan ng pag-ibig. Kaya ngayong buwan ng pag-ibig, let's vote love.
Ayan, kamusta naman yung sitwasyon sa inyo, Miss Lalaine?
Dito sa QC, medyo maluwag na kasi alert level 2 na lang kami. How about dyan sa inyo, Francis?
Ayan, dito sa amin all right din kasi sa Cagayan de Oro, medyo nagsisimula na ang kampanya mula sa local to national level. May kanya-kanya na rin pakulo yung mga supporters ng kandidato natin like caravan, feeding program at marami pang iba. Ongoing na rin ang mga booster shots para sa gustong mag-avail at hindi na rin required mag-RT-PCR test sa mga gustong mag-travel dito sa Cagayan de Oro City kung fully vaccinated na. So sa mga gustong magbisita or gumala-gala here in CDO, you can go now, no? Oo nga pala, Miss Lalaine, binabati ko rin ang mga tagapakinig natin ngayon live sa FB, no? Hello, maayong buntag para sa atong mga Bisaya na listeners.
Yan. So maraming salamat sa pagbati mo na yan, Francis. Ano bang in-expect natin today?
Yes, sa mga hindi nakakaalam, ang SLB at ang CEAP ay nagsama para mabuo itong programa para mapag-usapan ang mga importanteng isyu ng ating bansa, lalong-lalo na ngayon sa panahon ng halalan. Nung nakarang episode, tinalakay natin ang issue ng poverty reduction kung saan nakasama natin sila Brother Noel mula sa Lasal, no, Bacolod. At tinulungan nila tayo kung paano natin pwede may address o may isama sa mga plataforma ng ating kandidato ang usapin ng poverty reduction sa election 2022. Yes.
Tunay nga, Francis, tunay naman na importante na mas lalong mapag-usapan ito, lalo na ngayon sa konteksto na kung saan personality lang ang pinag-uusapan sa ating media araw-araw. Lalo na ngayon, nag-start na ang campaign period ng February 8. So, mas nakilala natin ang mga leaders at ang mga kandidato na gusto nating iboto sa susunod na halalan. So, I think meron din mga pangyayari nung February 8 sa lugar ninyo.
Oo, at naglabas din ang CEAP network ng isang pahayag at paalala na ang pagboto ay isang social responsibility bilang isang Kristiyano, Katoliko at isang mamamayan, maging mapagmasid at tingnan ng mabuti ang mga plataforma, track record at personal values ng mga kandidato kung nakaangkla ba ito sa core values bilang isang Kristiyano.
Okay.
Yes,
Maraming salamat at pinaalala mo sa ating manonood or sa mga nakikinig ngayon ang CEAP statement about this election. Tawag natin din ay ang statement of discernment. Okay. Kaya naman ngayong umaga, may mga makakasama tayo mula sa Region 11 at ikukwento nila ang mga issue sa kanilang region na kung saan issue na nag-a-address para sa darating na eleksyon. So makakasama po natin ngayon para sa ating mga nanonood or nakikinig sa Radyo Katipunan, makakasama po natin ngayon sina Brother Noelvic Deloria, SC, CEAP Region 11 Trustee at President ng Holy Cross of Davao College. Mamaya po hahabol si Brother Noelvic. Nandito rin po ngayon si Mr. Mark Paul Samante, DAC-CEAP Region 11 Advocacy Commission Member. And si Mr. Christian Saludar, ang ating college student from the University of the Immaculate Conception. Hello po sa ating mga panauhin para sa umagang ito.
Good morning po, Miss Lalaine and Francis.
Good morning rin po.
Ayan, no? So nakilala na ng ating mga tagapakinig yung mga special guest natin sa mga bigatin kasi student leader, pagkatapos si Brother Noel is a president, no, ng Holy Cross of Davao College. Of course si Sir Mark Samante ng Advocacy Commission member ng DAX. So maaari tayong magsimula para kay Sir Noel, kung may pakwento muna natin sa kanya or sa yung saan nagsimula or kamusta siya, no, ngayong sa panahon ng pandemic, especially yung family niya, yung trabaho niya. Sir Noel? Ayan, so
Sorry, naka-unmute. Once again, good morning, Sir Francis and Ma'am Lalaine.
Good morning po, brother.
Yes, and to everyone who is participating in this Kuwentuhang Halalan. I'm a brother of the Sacred Heart, member of Brothers of the Sacred Heart since 1980. And bago lang ako sa Holy Cross of Davao College, I was appointed as Vice President noong 2018. And ngayong 2020, June 2020, I became the President of Holy Cross. Well, during this pandemic, sa awa ng Diyos, hindi pa naging positive sa COVID. Been around and I have already gone out of the country, pero okay pa naman. Safety and health observation of the health protocols with the family, okay naman. So, thank you.
Ayan. Maraming salamat, brother. So ngayon ay pakikinggan naman natin si Sir Mark, no? Sir, kamusta po kayo?
Hi ulit sa ating mga tagapakinig at nanonood. My fellow guests, Brother Noelvic at si Christian. Eto, surviving, parang si Brother Noelvic din. Awa ng Diyos, hindi pa rin nagpa-positive. At sana wag naman dahil marami pa tayong kailangang gawin at asikasuhin para sa nalalapit na elections. And of course, pasalamat din po tayo na we are given healthy bodies and patuloy yung ating trabaho, kahit medyo may mga kababayan tayong nahirapan at nawalan ng trabaho, tayo naman po ay patuloy pa rin tumutulong dun sa mga nangangailangan sa atin. Yun yung mga activities na medyo pinagkakabisihan din dito sa Ateneo de Davao, aside of course from the election engagements. So yun yung mga kailangang tugunan para sa mga kababayan natin, Sir Francis.
Ayan, salamat Sir Paul sa patuloy na pagtulong sa mga kababayan natin. At gusto natin marinig ang perspektibo, no, ng isang student mula kay Christian. Christian?
Good noon to everyone. In line with the sharing of Sir Mark on the reaching out to those in help, actually we are live from St. Bernard, Southern Leyte, where we, the Davao Association of Catholic Schools, together with the Archdiocese Social Action Center of Davao, is currently conducting our medical mission, psychosocial debriefing, feeding program, and relief program. And I'm Christian John A. Saludar, the representative of the youth through this election forum. And relating to the pandemic, the restrictions of the pandemic has really struck us, the student sector, because it has caused limited access to learning resources, the limited conduct of the face-to-face classes, and actually the problems on connectivity has deteriorated the provision of quality education to us. And I am very privileged to be here right now in this forum, because I hope that I'll be able to voice out all our concerns of my sector and be able to relate it on our views and opinions of the upcoming Halalan 2022. May our voices be heard.
Ayan, maraming salamat sa ating mga panauhin ngayong umaga sa pagkukwento nyo ng inyong mga personal, pamilya, komunidad, or isyong pang-pandemic or isyong na aayon sa sektor na inyong kinabibilangan. Maraming salamat po. Ngayon naman po, para sa ating mga nakikinig or nanonood ngayong umaga, magtatanong tayo ng mga napapanahong tanong sa ating mga panauhin. At ito po ang unang tanong natin. Mga guests, what are the common issues or what are the common education issues that your schools in your region are facing right now?
Okay,
Siguro
I'll
po, simulan
start.
natin kay Brother Noelvic.
Okay, I'll start and the others could supply now. Well, the first thing talagang it's really about how to handle this pandemic, and in terms of sa school natin, yung while we are already asked to prepare for face-to-face, marami pa ring mga issues, and ang greatly affected talaga also on this pandemic, talagang yung basic education department. Nahihirapan talaga ang basic education department. Well, sa tertiary naman, in the graduate school, may mga blended learning na nangyayari. So, easier to cope siguro. But again, mahirap because magpag-graduate tayo ng mga estudyante na supposedly who would be having mga OJTs nila, on-the-job trainings, mga internship nila, but because of the restrictions, hindi pwede. So, they will not have that opportunity of hands-on training while they are still at school. So, yan in terms of talagang preparations, no, on the face-to-face, malaki din ang kailangan in terms of, kasi we need to have some structures made in order to keep that safety and to observe the health protocols. May mga investments din kailangan na minsan naghihikaos na nga ang mga private schools because of low enrollment, difficulty, malaki man ang enrollment, sometimes difficulty in collecting the fees. So, wala. Kung walang help talaga din sa government in terms of putting up the structures, very difficult for the private school to continue. So along this line, along this COVID-19 issues, yun muna. And maybe Mark and Christian could also supply.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Noelvic. In relation dun sa shinare ni Brother Noelvic, siguro if we look into that issue, ang isang policy na pwedeng pasukin o i-initiate ng government o ng magiging leader natin sa darating na 2022, yung paano tulungan yung private schools, aside of course from the existing help being extended already. There are other things pa na kailangan ng private schools as support aside from the existing. So baka pwedeng palawigin pa yung tulong para sa mga private schools. And on that note, siguro I'd also like to ask Christian to share as a student and as the youth.
Thank you, Sir Mark. Regarding the issues that we have on education at present, I would like to dissect the issues on two parties. We have the side of the student and the side of the school. For the side of the students, the greatest educational issue is the quality of education. No one can deny the fact that there are really activities which would require face-to-face interaction to fully achieve its objectives. Like for my case, I'm a civil engineering student, and there are laboratory subjects that we need to have face-to-face activities to complement those theoretical side of things. To name a few are laboratory subjects and even my internship. This is very lethal, as deteriorating quality of education would be tantamount to poor proficiency and efficiency of an entire generation of students who are thought to be future of the country. In addition to limited access to online educational materials, especially those for living in areas with poor connectivity. Now, for the side of the school, I recognize that Brother Noelvic has and Sir Mark has touched on the survival of schools, and I would like to add up that the difficulty in delivering education, especially through limited face-to-face, is that there are certain regulations that would be problematic for schools. For example, is the I would not say that this is really that chaotic, but if we really follow the limited 25 students per class, and that if we have 50 students in a class, that would be tantamount to 25 students in one class and another 25 students to one class, which would also cost greater expense on the payment to teachers, is because the teacher will now be required to conduct two separate classes. And in addition, we also have the issue on the perpetual survival of schools, because there is this tug of war between increasing tuition fee to continue funding operational expenses, or decreasing the tuition fee to help students continue going to school. And lastly is the lethal reality of poor proficiency of its learners. This has been opened up that there's an issue on limitations of the pandemic that would cause difficulty in delivering of quality education. And no matter how the schools strategize, we really have to accept the fact that the consequences of the pandemic would always recoil to the school itself. Yun lang po.
And if I may add also, even before the pandemic, talagang the struggle of private schools is already there in terms of keeping up, you know, the operations and yung revenues, because the enrollment in many private schools, especially the smaller schools, they really declined after K-12, because there was also the mushrooming of local universities and colleges. Marami. So nagko-compete siya with the schools na maliliit. Yung mga malalaking schools, they have the name and they have already the strength. But the smaller schools are also catering to low-income classes. So that's the difficulty. While we adhere and we honor that the government is really giving free education also to many students, pero there is also that aspect of the private schools. Many private schools are saying the government is already killing them softly kasi the issue on the migration of teachers. Diba? The public school is offering higher salaries, and so yung marami sa mga private schools, mga private school teachers who would also, we're happy for those who really stayed with us because of the mission, but marami ding who would opt for the higher salaries, and of course for a greener pasture. And so when we have that problem in low enrollment and so low revenues, so where will you get the money for development of the school program and its structures and its facilities, and also for the increase of the salaries of the teachers? So ito yung the whole gamut na it's very difficult sometimes to maintain that balance, because again, I honor that the government is really concerned about the education of the common good. But at the same time, we know that private schools, like Catholic schools, are also contributing much in the development of the society. So if these private schools are dying and will no longer be able to really give that quality education, then it affects the whole sociocultural development of the society, the economic development of the society. In a word, it affects the fabric of the society because, again, the private schools are also an important sector in the society. And that's why, as already mentioned by Sir Mark, that we need leaders who would also be supportive to the private sector, private school sectors.
Iyan, maraming salamat po sa mga issue ng inyong sektor na ibinahagi para sa araw na ito. Yung mga issue na pre-pandemic at ngayong mga panahon na tayo ay nasa gitna ng pandemya. Para po sa tuloy-tuloy na talakayan, may mga follow-up questions po related to that question ng education issues. So, ito po yung mga follow-up question natin. What kind of policies are you looking for from a local, regional, or national leaders this coming elections to address those issues? And another follow-up question po is, what kind of support our students and youth are looking for? Siguro po yung unang follow-up question, let's ask Brother Noelvic and Mr. Mark Paul. Nasagutin siya. Yung pangalawang follow-up naman po ay si Christian.
Yes. So, thank you for the follow-up question because it also help me to continue on that aspect of government supporting the private sector, the private school sector, supportive of the alleviation of the plight of the private school sector. Sir Mark has already mentioned about yung mga existing may mga subsidies naman, mga grants, and we would like to thank the government for that. Minsan lang, sometimes the subsidies will come almost at the end of the school year, or sometimes the grants are even very late. What about the daily struggle of, I'm concerned of the smaller schools. So what about the daily struggle of a small school? Na hindi naman pwedeng i-delay din ang salary ng mga teachers kasi na-delay yung subsidy ng government. So yun ang again, mahirap. And the policies na siguro kailangan is, hopefully, I don't know how they will do it, but sometimes because of that democracy and the long list of requirements in order to avail of those grants, minsan nahihirapan talaga. And mostly ang nahihirapan are mga schools that are smaller schools na even in terms of mga officers nila nag-double tasking na kasi to save. So the processing minsan nahihirapan. So if sana the policies in terms of this that would be on CHED and on DepEd na titingnan na hindi yung masyadong stringent at saka very difficult yung mga processes so that and the release of the funds, that's also very important. I think another is yung I talk about the mushrooming of local universities and colleges. Ang ano ko lang is sana hindi maging because of political it's really about the need of the people rather than political accommodation. That kung sana the government, our government leaders could already consider that there are already existing schools. And so if they can only help hand in hand, the government and the private schools and the government agencies and the private schools, I think we can do better. And I think mas marami pang masave na budget on that. Considering na may mga existing schools, may mga existing facilities already of the private schools, why not use them and parang help infuse more funds so that it can continue to help even the greater majority. Yan na muna, and Sir Mark and Sir Christian could continue.
Yes. On dun sa sinabi din ni Brother Noelvic, I would agree. Streamlining the process in government, I think that would be one policy na makakatulong. Sinabi na nga ni Brother Noelvic na minsan yung mga proseso natin sa gobyerno napaka-stringent, minsan redundant pa yung iba. So for the future legislators, for the future leaders of the country, I think yun yung isang magandang tingnan, streamline yung mga proseso na pinagdadaanan para sa mga private schools. Then in terms of policies, yun nga, maraming magandang policies, marami ng mga support na naibigay. I think consolidating them would greatly help as well. Kasi pag titingnan mo, parang pasimplihin natin yung ipinibigay ng gobyerno. Ilan ba sa mga mag-aaral ang nakakaalam na may ganitong serbisyo na ino-offer ang government? Pag hindi sila nagtanong, hindi nila malalaman yan. And the schools are kind enough already to share that information to the students, pero kailangan din yung ibahagi ng maayos. And in line with that, synchronize the policies between the national and the local implementers, which is the LGU. Hindi lang natin palalayuin yung usapan. Ito na lang response natin sa pandemya. Iba yung national, iba din yung local implementation and interpretation of the guidelines and policies. And it also applies to all the other national policies. So siguro synchronizing yung national and local implementations and policies para mas maintindihan at mas maging efficient siya would be of great service para sa mga mamamayan.
Regarding naman po sa what kind of support our youth is looking for, actually, at this pandemic, the student and youth has been immobilized by the restrictions, immobilized in their full and quality educational advancement, immobilized in their personal growth and development, and immobilized in their exploration of their personal interests and skills. Now, what the students and youth need at present is a law or a regulation or programs that would meet both their health concern on COVID-19 and the deserved quality education and growth for them. I have actually enlisted 3 major supports that they need. First is the support in financial side and in allowing them to continue going to school and advance in curricular matters. I believe that this is the objective of the law that Brother Noelvic is trying to point out, that we have to enhance our subsidy system to help students continue their studies and in the same manner continue to help private schools continue in their operation. Second is that I believe this is what Sir Mark has been sharing, that we need to modify restrictive regulations and align them in whoever is currently implementing them and be able to create a mechanism to provide skill-based lectures and activities to students which would complement the theoretical side of education. Just to share the different memes that we have viewed in the internet, we have seen campaign rallies bluntly violating COVID protocols. But yet we cannot modify our regulations to push through with the clamor of students for limited face-to-face, for face-to-face internships, and even for face-to-face graduation. So it's actually something that we need to look into. And lastly is to consider the views and opinions on crafting whatever support the government will extend to them. It's because we need to really listen from the students on what they really want, not only from the professionals who administer them. After all, it's them that we target. And I know that this is the gear of my institution, the University of the Immaculate Conception, and the gear of the Ateneo de Davao University and the Holy Cross College of Davao, and as well as those of the Davao Association of Catholic Schools, that we need really to embrace all the concerns of our stakeholders to be able to create programs that would offer the best solution for the greater number of beneficiaries.
Ayan, maraming salamat Christian, brother and Sir Mark So
Yeah.
kanina na-mention niyo yung iba't ibang issue regarding sa education. So ngayon, what are some pressing issues or concerns that your region faces, and what do you think are the priority issues politicians need to address?
Yeah.
Yes.
France and Lalaine. Before siguro move into outside the education sector, meron na ako i-contribute in terms of kasi we're focused on the COVID-19, how we're going to cope with it. But there are also very different issues, like we have talked about historical revisionism, right? That's a big issue. Kasi minsan mahirap eh. Who is writing history? Saan ba siya galing? So sometimes the writer of the history will paint history according to his lens. And the sad part now is how many of our young people love to take BA history. In fact, I don't know if Ateneo still has BA history or UIC, but there are very, very small schools now offering BA history, and we know that this is also a very important part of our development as a country. No? So that if the LGUs, dapat every LGU must have a historian, and they can support somebody to study history, and so that somebody who will really take care of the local government's history and as well as the region's history. Another one is yung economics. Ilan na ngayon ang kumukuha talaga ng BA Economics or BS Economics? Konti lang din. But these are again very important courses na hopefully we can push forward, and kasi konti lang, but if the government can give subsidies to students who will take up these courses, baka there will be more who will come up really as good economists for our country. And ngayon, there is already a legislation that local governments must have libraries. If you look into the students taking up BLIS or Bachelor of Library Information Science, very meager, very small number. Pero that's why kung may government subsidy yan, may local government would be interested in providing that, that would be a good thing. No? So these are things outside, still in education, but outside of the COVID-19. The mental health profession is also very important. Diba, Christian, when you go there where you are now, people are not only in need of material things, but also to take care of them psychologically, emotionally, and disasters are already coming into us more often. And hindi lang naman yung mga material things na kailangan natin, also the psycho-emotional needs of people. Then, kung titingnan din siguro in terms of priorities outside education, or ano ba yung mga priorities ng Mindanao? Dito, I think we would like our leaders to know ano yung mga nakita naming important priorities. And the association, the Davao Association of Catholic Schools, Advocom, has spelled out this 6E agenda. Sir Mark, would you like to share the 6E agenda?
Yes, Brother Noelvic. Thank you for that. Yes, Sir Franz, we have the 6Es. And isa-isahin ko ito. Briefly, una is enduring peace. This is in the context of Mindanao. Since you are asking kung ano yung other than education issues, what are the other pressing concerns? So this is not only for Region 11, but this is related to the whole of Mindanao. So unang-una yung enduring peace. We would really like to sustain the gains of the BARM, ensure orderly transition to 2025. We all know na nag-extend yung ano, 'di ba, yung transition. The BTA has been extended. The Marawi rehabilitation is very important. On the Moro killings, and then the resumption of the GRPC and peace talks, utilization of the military force in achieving peace in Mindanao, violent extremism, terrorism, our Lumad brothers and sisters. So those are themes on enduring peace. The next E is empowering communities. How do we journey with the Lumad and the Bangsamoro in the BARM and outside of the BARM? The genuine representation of IPs in BARM and in other sectors. So that's the second E, empowering communities. The third is ecological sustainability. Mindanao has been described as the land of promise, and with that promise comes destruction of the environment because they are trying to exploit that promise in Mindanao. Mining has been very prevalent in different areas in Mindanao, not only in South Cotabato, but in Surigao, in Agusan. So we want that this be addressed, kasi hindi lang Mindanao ang masisira. Ultimately, it will affect the whole country. While it is in the context of development and sustainability, pero kung ang environment naman ang tatamaan, I think we have to reconsider. That's the third E. The fourth E is educational reform, which has been very heavily emphasized by Brother Noelvic and Christian and myself earlier. Na while we have the current GASP, the ESC, those benefits and grants extended by the government, we also want to see the operationalization of the complementarity between the private and the public education. I think that's very, very important. And the fifth E is on economic recovery. Agriculture has been the byword this pandemic. Yun lang yung nag-survive in this time of pandemic. Nagsarado yung malls, nagsarado lahat ng industry, lahat ng businesses, but agriculture survived. How do we keep agriculture sector afloat in this time of pandemic? I think the government leaders should consider how to help the agricultural sector in terms of economic recovery in this new normal. And the last E is enhancing the COVID-19 response. While we have seen the rollout of vaccines, we also saw the different responses by the different LGUs and the IATF. We would like to see a clear recovery plan, and how do we recover from this pandemic, and then how do we safeguard or help ourselves should there be another pandemic that would happen in the next couple of years. Similar to DRR response, I think pandemic should be part of any DRR response at this time. So those are the 6 E's, and if you would allow me, ulitin ko lang, it's enduring peace, empowering communities, ecological sustainability, educational reform, economic recovery, and enhancing COVID-19 response. So those are the other issues, Franz, na nasa ngayon, nasa table din. And if the leaders are kind enough to look into them, we would greatly appreciate working with everyone on this.
Yan, maraming salamat, Sir Paul. So, Christian?
I believe Brother Noelvic and Sir Mark has expounded greatly on issues being faced by our region, including the call of various institutions on specific goals to address these issues. But I'll add only to the side of the youth nowadays. Numerous issues are currently being confronted by our youth, one of which was highlighted by Brother Noelvic, which is the mental health. We also have the out-of-school youth and the teenage pregnancy. The limited mobility brought forth by the restrictions of the pandemic and the limited interaction has raised concerns on the mental health of students, the youth, and even of the general public. It's good news where mental health awareness and enhancement activities are being conducted by institutions, yet it remains to be a pressing issue because there is no full embracement of the community on mental health awareness. Sabi nga nila, may iba na pag nag-consult for mental health, ginajudge na agad na may problema sa pag-iisip. That's really not right, and that should be corrected by mental health awareness. Actually, here in Leyte, just to share, in the conduct of psychosocial debriefing, there are victims of Typhoon Odette, which happened 2 months ago. It is already a long time, who was very expressive in their experience and would like to seek personal consultation with spiritual advisors and guidance counselors to be able to lighten what feeling they're currently carrying among themselves. Now, on the side of out of school youth and teenage pregnancy, this is not brought forth by the pandemic alone, but by numerous factors, including the closure of schools. We have that, dysfunctional families, and the lack of access to sexual and reproductive health education. And this becomes a pressing issue as there also is an issue on quality education. So two of these factors, which are the limited access to education and the closure of schools, is well caused by the pandemic, where teens and youth access to learning materials becomes limited. Overall, these three are only a few of the numerous factors our youth is currently facing, which I know for a fact that some of which were touched by Sir Mark in the 6 factors that he have shared, and that we should look into as these may deteriorate the productivity, proficiency, and the efficiency of our future leaders of this nation.
Ayan, thank you so much, Christian. No? Again, highlighting the mental health issues, and then teenage pregnancy and out-of-school youth. And of course, the 7 core priorities na Mindanao. I can affirm that, especially peace and recovery, support for our agricultural sector. Dapat palakasin din ang agrikultura, and then response sa COVID. So, Ate Lalaine, sunod ng tanong.
Yan, maraming salamat, Francis. Pero bago tayo pumunta sa pangatlo nating tanong, pakinggan muna natin yung point na gustong i-raise ni Brother Noelvic. Brother?
Yes. I would also like to add, you mentioned about reduction, poverty reduction. That's one issue. Because that's very important. Kung malnourished ang bata, studies show that it will also affect education. And if education is affected, it would also affect the whole fabric of the society. So, including the psycho-emotional, etc., etc. Absentee parents, andyan na yan. Second is, especially related to Christian, yung youth empowerment and leadership program ng government, na hindi yung leadership program na we are also making new, parang ano ba yan? The old kind of mentality on politics na mai-inject na on young people. Hindi yung ganun, but it's really youth-empowered leadership program to generate new leaders para maiwasan na natin na to look at, for example, the political landscape, the same names, the same political families makikita natin. Minsan nahihirapan yung new names kasi walang pera, ganyan. Pero yung empowerment talaga of youth leaders who will come up, and nakikita na natin yan even in the national scene. Now we still have the name of Marcos, you still have the Aquino na may mga semblance dyan and whatever, the old politicians, pero saan ba? Do we have new names talaga that would really, like, may new names naman pero alam natin hindi na naman ito mananalo. So paano yan? But it starts with young people talagang and with the ngayon, I don't know, and with all the young people now challenges on the use of mobile phones, di ba? The use of media, social media, minsan doon na nakaka-focus nakakalimutan yung bigger aspect on really creating a leadership program and youth empowerment program. I think we need that. And we need a government who is really strong on that, but not making them like new new politicians na naman with that old concept, no, of sustaining the kind of politics that they also would like to have. So yun, I think we also know that one big issue really is internet connectivity. That's an issue that I think the government must look into. Mahal ang ating binabayaran sa ating mga internet providers, and at the same time meron na nga mga internet providers hindi pa tama, intermittent pa yung mga connections natin, and we have difficulty doing that. So I think this one issue that our government leader must also look into. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Brother Noelvic, para sa karagdagang puntos na gusto niyong i-address ng ating mga politicians. Susunod naman po nating mga tanong, medyo emotional na tanong. Are there initial thoughts that you have regarding this 2022 elections? Are you happy or frustrated with how things are going on in our 2022 elections?
Sila na muna. Kasi
sige po, brother. Start po siguro tayo kay Mr. Mark and then si Christian. Tapos huli po kayo, brother. Salamat po.
Sige. Miss Lalaine, masaya tong elections ngayon. In recent memory, I think ito ang pinakamakulay at maraming side issues na election na nakakatakot kasi yung main issues nasa side track dahil dito sa mga side issues na bordering on showbiz na minsan. As an electorate, ako personally gusto kong marinig yung tugon sa issues. Itong mga ni-raise namin na 6 E's sa Mindanao, ito ang gusto namin marinig mula sa mga tumatakbo. Paano nyo tutugunan itong concerns na ito at hindi itong mga side issues na bordering on showbiz and parang nagiging fanfare lagi yung ating approach sa elections, na sana itong elections na ito pagkakataon para matugunan ang kailangan ng bayan, pero hindi nagiging pagkakataon siya para magpasikat, para bumuo ng mga hindi naman bordering on fake news, lumalabas yung kung ano-anong mga issues na hindi naman talaga makakatulong sana kung ano yung problema ng bayan. So yun, masaya na, nakakatuwa na pag hindi mo na address, maiinis ka na in the long run. So yun initially sa akin. Christian.
I have to go with Sir Mark, where there are a lot of colors and a lot of issues in this election. The 2022 election in its unfolding proves what people can do in the name of politics. Actually, it's for my side naman, it's quite frustrating. First, people fight and break ties in a discussion of why this candidate deserves to be voted over another candidate. We often see in social media friends quarrel on opposing ideas and views of a certain candidate. Second is people become destructive. Again, that's what Sir Mark have said. People tend to create propagandas that would destroy the credibility of one candidate at the cost of promoting his candidate of choice. Parang nawawala na po yung we need to know the platforms of the certain candidate, but we boil down to destroying other candidates for the benefit of our candidate. First, intentionally patronizing fake news and misinformation for that purpose. May post lang na ganito, we do not see if it's credible or not. We share it just to destroy the other candidate. Third is people become pretentious and fake. Candidates in their platforms and campaigns would go into claiming he or she did not achieve in the past. More so claiming credit for initiatives that they believe what they have made, yet were not true at all. This could give us an idea that the candidates are not that confident in claiming their qualification or them being deserved the position they are running for. Worse, at present, trolling. There are numerous accounts on the internet just to boost likes and shares to convince everyone they are more famous and are patronized. And lastly, when we talk about the elections 2022, it shows that people can kill and destroy. One incident in Cotabato was the bombing of a passenger bus. It might not yet have been proven to be election-related, yet given that it was within the election calendar, we would foresee that people can do such crimes to threat parties, threat candidates, or even voters to go with what their propaganda is. Yet, there is one thing that I became happy about this election is that there's democracy. We would see people voicing out their discerns of why they chose to support who, of why they believe this one is more fitter to sit in this position, etc., etc. It shows that there's really the freedom of expression, yet we need to really assess its responsible use because, again, that's what Sir Mark have said, if we use too much democracy, we go to fake news, we go to misinformation, and that would defeat the main purpose of the election to elect a leader who has the right idea of issues, who has the right solution to issues, and who has the best perspective of the issue in a way of solving it based on our own perspective. So, yun lang po.
Salamat, Christian. Huling sasagot sa ating, are you happy or frustrated with what is going on right now in our elections? Si Brother Noelvic.
Yes, yes, I'll start with being happy. You know, I'm happy to be able to exercise my right to vote. Okay pa naman ako. I am going to vote and uphold the democracy in the country. Yun nga lang. Minsan, I'm frustrated because of the limited choices of good leaders na pwede natin pagpilian. Ano ba? Sometimes I tend to say, sige, huwag na lang, i-blanco ko na lang to. I'll be voting to blanco na lang to. Kasi wala mahirapan talaga. If we have one, then you go into, sige, you go to the least evil or yung, sige na lang, pwede na lang. So, yung mga choices natin talagang mga like stalwarts na you can really be proud na ito yung leader ng Philippines na pwede natin ipagmamalaki talaga. Nahihirapan, very difficult with all the cases, with all the issues around, etc., all the mudslinging going on. Very difficult. That's why democracy is good because it's really alive, very alive. Kaya lang yung sinasabi nga ni Christian at saka ni Sir Mark, how do we use it? Yun naman talaga the key. Sometimes, minsan, I'm thinking na because of this too much democracy here in the Philippines, that's why we're lagging behind. When you look at other countries in Asia, ay very strong yung leader nila. I would even say some of the leaders are dictators, but they are strong as a country. Tayo palaging, we don't want a dictator, we would like a democracy, etc. But sometimes wala, lamya. And when you say, we have so many, yung leader with so many advisors, minsan wala na kasi listening to all the advisors na may sarili-sarili ding mga agenda. Diyan ako nahihirapan. That, do we have a good leader that is strong in terms of leadership and also in good governance? Yan, nahihirapan ako. And the social media is very alive. It's bane and boon. Very good because people are now really sharing. That's why if you look at what happened in the 70s, I happened to be 7 years old when martial law was proclaimed, but I don't have one. But I was in 1986, I was already, I think, past college. But you see, but there's a big difference now. Kasi noon, wala pang social media, wala pang mga cellphones, hindi pa madali yung pag-pass ng mga information. Ngayon, marami ng information. At saka, pero nahihirapan na tayo in terms of ano ba talagang totoo nito? Because everybody wants to claim they're right. But I think what is more important is what is right. Hindi yung who is right. What is right? And dyan papasok talaga ang very good discernment. And I think this is also one aspect in our education na minsan we miss out, yung discernment, yung love for silence so that you will be able to reflect. Minsan doon na tayo palagi sa pagpasa ng assignment at pag-accomplish nito, etc. etc. And ang silence and prayer, relegated lang yan sa campus ministry, which it's supposedly para sa lahat eh. We should be teaching our students to be quiet, to be discerning, at the same time, of course, be prayerful. So, yun, dyan ako, I'm happy about what's going on kasi nag-enjoy din ako sa what's going on, but very difficult to know really what is the truth because everybody's saying they have the truth. Diyan ako medyo frustrated at the same time, yun nga, limited choices natin for our leadership.
Maraming salamat po sa pagbabahagi ninyo ng inyong mga damdamin para sa nangyayari sa ating election ngayon. Pero generally, parang masaya pa naman po lahat. No? Si Mr. Mark, happy. Si Brother Noelvic, happy. Si Christian, frustrated nung una, pero happy siya dahil may demokrasya pa rin. Okay? So generally, masaya pa naman po ang mga pangyayari sa Pilipinas. Susunod naman po, ibigay ko kayo ulit kay Francis para sa susunod na tanong.
Yes, so habang nag-share no yung mga guests natin, I'm also thinking no, I'm very frustrated. Sometimes dinideactivate ko yung Facebook ko because hindi ko na nasisikmura yung palitan sa online, ang daming mga fake news. So tama ang sinabi talaga ni Brother Noel no na dapat yung tao is maging more discerning sa pagpili ng kandidato. That's what I'm doing also sometimes pag walang ginagawa. So sige, you mentioned naman about sa election. If you were to ask, what are the top 3 qualities that you are looking for in leaders that we should electing this coming election? So simulan natin kay Christian. Christian?
Can I bargain from 3? I have actually highlighted 4 main qualities.
Okay.
If I can bargain with that. We are guided by the 1987 Constitution and we need to anchor on the traits emphasized in it in choosing leaders. This is what the University of the Immaculate Conception has continually imbibed on me from my first year in college, first year in education in kinder until where I am right now. A leader who has the 4 M's: makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan, at makabansa. We need a leader who is God-fearing or makadiyos and instills dignity of human being as a creation of God made in His image and likeness. Hence, we value life. We need a leader who is makatao and who secures the welfare of its constituents. Someone or he or she should harness democracy in making sure all voices are heard, all concerns are addressed, and that each person is valued. May that leader not favor a sector alone, but anchor himself or herself on his or her mission of serving the entire nation as a whole. Yung walang pabor-pabor ba? Next, we need a leader who is pro-nature or makakalikasan. He or she should promote natural protection and conservation. Despite the need for industrialization, yung mga subdivisions natin to cater to more residences, a person or a leader must remember the great role of nature, which was emphasized by Sir Mark, the great role of nature played in our lives, to the provider of food, the provider of oxygen, the natural protection to disaster, and many more. May he or she protect the environment and not be tempted of tycoons who would convert these natural areas to industries for a sole purpose of income. Lastly, we want a leader who is patriotic or makabansa, who puts the country's welfare first. We want a leader who does not bow to anyone, especially when bowing would mean our country being submissive to whatever thing they want at the cost of our own. Yung parang we will bow down to other countries just to get what we want at the cost of our own country. We discern for a leader who would stand for what is right and due to the Philippines. Above all, we want a leader who at all costs is transparent, honest, clean, and would serve as a good model for everyone to follow. After all, he or she becomes our guide to whatever path we are to take. Just a disclaimer, this answer is that regardless of who the politician is, as long as he has the 4 M's, makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan, at makabansa.
Ayan, ang galing-galing, no? 4 M's, ang daling sauluhin. So, Sir Mark?
Yes, para sa akin naman, simulan ko dun sa sa qualities ng leader na hinahanap natin. Una, dapat trustworthy siya. Yung sinabi na nga ni Christian kanina, mapagkakatiwalaan. So, leaders must be trustworthy in all their undertakings. And of course, dapat they should have the integrity and the humility once they are elected in position. Integrity, knowing na even without us looking, they know that they are doing the right thing. And the humility to accept the things that they cannot really address and channel it to the proper people who can help them address that concern of the country. Ang pagiging makabayan hindi lang nakasalalay sa isang tao o nasa isang leader, kundi sa pagtutulungan ng bawat isa. So kung ikaw yung leader na alam mo ano ang iyong limitasyon, alam mo rin kung paano humingi ng tulong sa iba para makamit yung adhikain natin bilang isang bayan. And aside of course from these leaders, kahit sino pa o ano pang quality ng leader ang mailagay natin dyan sa pwesto, kailangan din natin bilang mga mamamayan tanggapin yung magkaroon at ma-develop sa atin yung quality of collaboration and support regardless of nanalo ba yung aking sinusuportahan o hindi. Once nasa posisyon na ang leader na yan, kaya ko bang suportahan yung leader? It's not only about the leaders but also about the supporters. We have been in this for the longest time. We have been electing leaders, pero bakit parang hindi tayo umuusad? Bakit parang walang pagbabago? Bakit parang walang kasiguruhan sa Pilipinas? Probably because of the type of followers and supporters we have and we are. Kaya ba nating suportahan ang mga nakaupong leader kahit hindi natin kakulay, kahit hindi natin kapareho ng adhikain dahil sila ang nasa posisyon at sila ang nanalo. So I think not only for leaders but for the supporters as well.
Yes,
Sir Mark?
very inspiring yung narinig ko rin sa mga kasamahan ko. No? We know that in terms of sa politics natin, nag-evolve, nag-mutate din tayo. Di ba, we follow the American style na may dalawang party lang, two-party system before we have nationalista and then liberal party. Then pagkatapos, nag-develop ng multicolors na, naging rainbow na, naging butterfly na at whatever. So marami nang nangyayari sa ating ang gusto ko sa isang leader talaga. First is of course, he has to be godly. Mention na God-fearing, maka-Diyos talaga. And that's very important. But really, a strong, somebody that possesses strong leadership and governance. And when I say strong leadership, I see a leader who really has a clear understanding of issues at hand. Na parang, yes, yung hindi naman pwedeng alam lahat ng leader. But he will be able to pull resources so that he will really be able to understand, because at the end of the day, call niya. He will be the one to say it. He or she might have a lot of advisors, but at the end of the day, she has to stand there as our leader. So somebody who understands very clearly on the issues, economic growth, in terms of sociocultural issues, moral issues, etc. But at the same time, after understanding yung concrete action, yung leader who would really face the tigers, hindi yung leader na may problema na dito, naglalaro. May problema dito, somewhere else na attending to other things. Na, pwede ba? A leader who really would attend to specific needs. Kung maaari. Kung hindi man siya makakadalo, immediately somebody could represent him. But yung ma-feel ng mga tao na we have somebody here who really supports us in our difficulties, but also at the same time, somebody who is there to celebrate with us when we are in a joyful moment or in a successful moment. So, yung konkreto, hindi yung whatever lang na iniisip, but concrete action that would really serve the common good. I also like to see a leader, you might make colors on this, but I really like a leader who could be unifying. Somebody, kasi we really have been a divided people there. And tama yung sinabi ni Sir Mark na it's not only about leaders, the leaders of it, tayo din as supporters. Minsan hindi tayo makaka-move on kasi we hold on to and kung hindi manalo yung manok natin, parang hindi tama yung election. There's always a sour grapes after an election. Then wala na, start na ang divide. Kasi hindi na magkasundo. But can we have a leader that really inspires us as people? Na yung sinasabi natin, we are inspired na we are proud to be a Filipino people. Unifying and inspiring leader. A leader who is also forward-looking. While we need a leader who is attending to concrete issues and making concrete actions, we also need a leader who is also forward-looking. And again, he doesn't have to do it alone. He will have to he really has to pick good advisors, hindi lang yung political accommodation or na magsusupport sa kanyang ideya na hindi magpe-question, but somebody who is really open-minded and yung heart is open and really has the heart for the poor. Kasi yun ang pinakamalaking sector sa atin. But at the same time, hindi lang yung heart for the poor and perpetuating the culture of poverty, but somebody who can really bring us out and help us to move forward. I also like to see a leader, hindi lang yung war freak na palagi nila, but somebody who really moves for peace and diplomacy. Hindi lang yung, we have to also fight against. No, we should know how to, it's the art, skill yan, how to go about it. And we need a leader who knows the skill and the art of negotiation. Kasi at the end of the day, that's part of the diplomacy. Of course, again, yes, he has to pick good ambassadors to do this. Yung development of the grassroots and the rural areas, and yung sustainability of growth. Na sana, yung next leader natin, ipagpatuloy na yung magagandang nangyayari ngayon. Hindi yung may maganda na, then pagkatapos hindi ipagpatuloy kasi that was by the other administration. Hindi lang yun ito national, kahit sa mga local, ganun din. Kung may bagong leader, it's a pwera na yung mga projects ng previous administration, kahit maganda. No, we need somebody who would continue the good things that we already have. At hindi lang puro away, hindi lang puro ito, against ako nito kasi ito. No, we have to focus on the good and celebrate what is right. Kasi kung palagi na lang tayo, we will never be able to move forward. And palagi na lang tayo kulilat. So if we continue a leader who continues to say anti, then all our efforts are into anti. But if we have a leader who is proactive, positive looking, and moving forward development and sustainability, wala. And sana again, as mentioned, we are here to support. Kasi minsan ang supporters ang nanggagatong eh. Or yung mga tauhan na malapit sa tao na yun who also have their own personal interests, sila ang gagatong. Kawawa yung political leader. So, yun, I think I'm saying too much, but that's coming from the heart.
Ayan, maraming salamat, brother. So just to reiterate, a leader that promotes, protect, fulfill human rights and also our environment, and also being proactive and inspire others to do the same. Ayan. Miss Lalaine, so hope na yung mga listeners natin is tinitake note nila yung mga sinasabi ng ating mga guests, no, para magamit din nila just in case they want to choose the leader sa incoming election.
Tama, Francis. At malamang itong mga manonood natin ngayon na soon to be botante sa darating na Mayo, nagkaroon na sila ng tips kung paano pumili ng tamang leader sa darating na eleksyon. At alam ko, painit ng painit ang ating talakayan ngayon, pero tutungo na tayo sa huling tanong para sa araw na ito. So, meron po ba tayong invitasyon? Or what are your invitation to our schools this coming elections? Para po sa ating mga panauhin.
Yes.
Brother Noelvic and then Mr. Martin.
Maybe I can start with the rest and I will have the end kung meron pa.
Sige po. Sige po. Thank you, brother. So, we can start from Mr. Mark.
Yeah, sige po. Ang imbitasyon talaga sa mga nasabi na, sa mga napakinggan, ang imbitasyon talaga mas maging mapanuri, discern, pag-isipang mabuti yung mga napapanood, mga nakikita, nababasa, naririnig. Yun yung imbitasyon, a continuous call for discernment. Yun din yung call ng CEAP, a call for discernment in this coming 2022 elections. And kaisa po kami dyan sa panawagan na yan na magpatuloy na maging discerning, kilalanin, kilatisin, and aligned with that, yung initiative na rin ng DAX mismo in hosting the different forums and fora. Right after this, mamayang 2:00, may candidates forum kami for local elections. These are things that can be replicated. We don't have the monopoly of the programs. Mga ganitong talakayan, mga ganitong usapan. Imbitasyon din para sa lahat na we can reach out, lalo na ngayon. Ito yung maganda sa pandemya. Magkakalayo-layo man tayo na paglalapit tayo ng technology. We are heard live via radyo-katipunan. Pero nandito kami sa Region 11. And this could only happen before. Kung pupunta ka talaga ng Maynila, the technology opened this for us. Why not maximize it? So yun yung panawagan. Discern, continue the discernment, think of the things that are being presented to us, and collaborate and reach out to other organizations, other institutions who might be able to help and deepen the knowledge and the experiences. Ang importante dito, lahat naman po tayo magiging bahagi ng eleksyon. Hindi lang ako, hindi lang kayo. Lahat po tayo bahagi ng eleksyon. So bakit hindi natin simulan ngayon na magtulungan at magsama-sama para mas maging maganda yung eleksyon and matuto tayo sa isa't isa. So yun po yung sa akin.
Salamat po, Mr. Mark. Sunod natin si Christian sa sektor ng kabataan.
I'll have the springboard yung sa sinabi ni Sir Mark that we need to have that tulungan. Because we're a democratic country, we need first my first invitation to school is to be respective of what the views of its students, of its administration, of its faculty and staff is all about. We need to have the respect to whatever view a certain person has, because it's a practice of democracy and we need to live it as it is. Second is to create initiatives, to embrace the motive of CEAP, as well as which is adopted by DAX, which is to create an election that is clean, honest, accurate, meaningful, and peaceful, or what we say the ECHAMP. May we, in our own capacity, seek to promote responsible voting. Again, as what Sir Mark has said, not to impede personal discernment. Dapat mandun yung discernment natin, which is the stripe of CEAP right now. And we need to have that shield against the temptation of money, that temptation of fear, the onset of fear, and as well as the different factors that there exist to dictate our decision for this upcoming election. We also invite schools to have the campaign for voter awareness, gearing towards their rights and responsibilities as voters and responsible use of their vote. Kasi minsan, ang boto, since isa lang, tinitingnan na okay lang yan i-waste. But we need really to have that gear among our students, administrators, staff, faculty, to really instill in their minds that your vote is very significant in this upcoming election. And as what I've said, we need to be instruments of accurate election through being involved in however way we can, like poll watching on the day, or through promotion of electoral publication materials by the COMELEC or other non-partisan institutions. And this may be a simple gesture, yet these steps would gear towards fully realizing the purpose of the election, which is to select a leader which people responsibly and purposively want to lead the nation towards growth and development.
Maraming salamat, Christian. So para sa huling sasagot ng tanong na to, Brother Noelvic.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lalaine. Yes, DAX is only one association, but there are also other entities who are helping for these regions and for this coming national and local elections. DAX is also connected with, of course, PPCRV. DAX is also connected with the Social Action Center of the Archdiocese and the other dioceses under this region. So we have Davao, Digos, Tagum, and Mati dioceses. So magsama-sama kami. That's why we have projects together. For example, we have youth circles of discernment na ginawa as a module na pwedeng gamitin doon sa mga parishes, pwedeng gamitin doon sa mga youth na outside sa education, sa school, no? But we are also encouraging, I think we have already come up with the module on youth circles of discernment na pwede din gamitin sa mga different schools on however they will use it. Again, so that we have also yung sabi ni Sir Mark kanina, yung candid dates. So will help us, bring us closer to the candidates, up close and personal, know their views, know their platforms, know what their concerns. No, I know that Ateneo Blue Vote is also very strong on this. And I don't know with the UIC, I know that they are also very strong doon with St. Mary's network, di ba? On poll watching, on helping doon sa the past elections. Holy Cross naman is on to Vote for Truth. We are in partnership with GMA to gather news and to counter fake news, to see, to determine which is true or false, which is really very challenging. And I would say that as a last statement, DAX has really made a statement that DAX would remain non-partisan. CEAP 11 would remain non-partisan but we would encourage all schools to have an open and free conversations, yung sinabi na ni Christian kanina, that will really aid us in our discernment who will be the next leader. So, ayaw namin talagang mag-endorse ng particular candidate. We will leave that to the voters, but we will try as much as possible to provide them mga notes and mga data na pwede nilang tingnan the kind of leaders that they're choosing. In fact, in the candidates, the DACs has already made ano yung mga achievements, ano yung mga plataforma ng different presidents, all para makikita nila. And at the end of the day, I would say, we just have to surrender to God's will. We'll do what we can and we will really participate because we cannot afford to be bystanders. This is not only important, but this is also imperative in terms of our practice for our faith and citizenship. But at the end, it's really to surrender to God's will. We have already survived so many elections. And I said, well, if hindi mananalo yung tao na gusto natin, the next thing we do is, what could be God's message? What could be, why did God allow this to happen? No? Or else, if we can rally together to help that person really, kung meron leader na tayo, to help that person succeed. Hindi tayo sana pwedeng to continue na magsiraan. Because at the end of the day, tayo din ang kawawa lahat. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po sa final message na rin, Brother Noelvic, at maraming salamat sa mga sagot ninyo, Mr. Mark and Mr. Christian. Francis, meron bang naiwan sa iyong balintatao base sa talakayan na ito?
Ayan, so, may dagdag pa si...
Okay, nag-raise na hand si
shout out lang.
Opo, sure po, brother. Brother, sorry.
Well, we're talking about kanina kasi about education and how they have helped us. The government has really helped us. I would say in fairness naman talagang dito sa Region 11, our directors are really very, very close to us. And if we have some things to ask, andyan sila. So, shout out ko lang sa director namin ng DepEd, Director Alan G. Farnaso, for the TESDA, Engineer Lorenzo G. Makapili, and for the CHED 11 is Director Maricar Casqueo. And we would like to also say thank you for their services to the private sector, private schools. Thank you. Yun lang.
Ayan, maraming salamat Brother Noel. No? Shout out again sa TESDA at sa CHED sa Region 11. So ayan, I think hindi na ako magbibigay ng synthesis kasi parang binigay na ni Brother Noel lahat ng synthesis kanina, no? From the beginning up to the end. Ayan, natapos na naman po ang isang makabuluhang pag-uusap ngayong umaga. Naway may napulot ang ating mga tagapakinig ngayong araw na ito na magagamit sa pagpili ng tamang kandidato na mamumuno sa ating bansa. Again, maraming salamat Brother Noel, Sir Mark, Sir Christian, CEAP, at of course ang DACs. Sa mga gapaminaw diha sa ato, no, sa Davao Region, at kay Christian dyan sa Southern Leyte, ingat sa mission mo. Saan mang sulok ng ating bansa, maraming salamat po sa pakikinig. This is once again Kuwentuhang Bayan, Kuwentuhang Halalan. Magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga.
Thank you.
Salamat.
And my companions, Christian and Mark. Salamat.
Salamat po. Keep safe.
Salamat po. Keep safe. God bless po sa lahat.
Christian, ingat ka dyan.
Thank you, Sir Mark.
Palalimin ang kamalayan sa mga isyong napapanahon. Makisangkot at makiisa kasama ang Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan, ang socio-political apostolate ng Kapisanan ni Jesus. Ito ang Kuwentuhang Bayan mula alas 11 ng umaga tuwing Biyernes dito lang sa radyo-katipunan 87.9 FM. Dahil naniniwala kami na posible ang isang mas mabuting lipunan at maaari itong simulan sa isang kwentuhan.
Radyo